With $50,000 on the line, anything can happen in the IHRA Stroh'S Funny Car Showdown from Darlington. ESPN, now in its 7th season as your #1 auto racing network, presents Auto Racing 85. We welcome you to Darlington, South Carolina, and the Stroh'S Funny Car Showdown. On the line, $50,000. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Bob Jenkins, along with Larry Newber. I guess you could call this the IHRA, the International Race of Champions for the drag racers. It's an invitational event, and the #1 qualifier is last year's IHRA champion, Mark Oswald.
Those points are accumulated throughout the season of Stroh'S Nights of Fire. Oswald has already won over $16,000 in those standings so far in 1985. Last year's defending champion, he comes into this meet, and he really wants to do well. Dale Pulde, one of the most prolific winners in all of drag racing in 1985, was the second fastest qualifier, but then there's Kenny Bernstein. Now, Bernstein has done very well also in 1985. He says he likes to race on television, so he expects to do well here. And there's one other matter, a little tiny thing of $50,000. Everybody else, the other 7, only go home with $2,000 apiece, so a lot at stake on the line.
Not a bad paycheck at all. In the pit area, the 3rd member of our broadcast crew for this afternoon, let's go to Marty Reed.
Here at the Stroh'S Showdown, lane choice in the first round could be critical. The reason being that the drivers during practice and qualifying were complaining about the left lane because it was far inferior to the right lane. They said the reason was that the sandy soil conditions that are familiar to the Darlington area were blowing across this track, hitting that wall and sort of laying in this left lane. The tires were breaking loose and they were having a hard time getting the cars to go down the quarter mile. And when $50,000 is at stake, you want everything to be equal.
Thank you, Marty. The Stroh'S $50,000 Showdown is being brought to you by Stroh'S and Stroh Light, fire brewed for smoother taste. And by Drag Review, all you need to know about drag racing. We'll be back to begin our eliminations in just a moment. Billy Meyer gets set to see if he can win $50,000. $50,000 Funny Car Showdown from Darlington, South Carolina. Here are the 8 drivers who have qualified for today's competition. And our first round involves Billy Meyer from Waco, Texas, against John Lombardo. Billy Meyer in the 711 Chief Auto Parts Ford Mustang has had a habit of winning the big races, and we ask Billy Meyer about that.
We won the Bristol race, which is their spring nationals. We won it 4 times, and it's the largest paying purse in America. So we always do real good at the big races. Hopefully the odd year doesn't fool us on that. We continue to carry on with this tradition that we got.
Billy Meyer, his opponent is John Lombardo from Sherman Oaks, California, in the old Milwaukee light blue Max Ford Mustang, and it looks like that Lombardo has beaten Billy Meyer.
Billy Meyer, the man who is a former world champion in this type of drag racing, has gone down to little John Lombardo, the man who works for a team that also fields a Grand National car for Tim Richmond and a World of Outlaw sprint car for Sammy Swindell.
Well, the replay shows that perhaps Meyer beat him off the line, but Lombardo was pretty much in command all the way. The speed, 254.23 miles an hour.
Now, this is not the traditional route in terms of qualifying and preliminary runs to get to the top 8. These guys have made it here as a result of a season-long point standing they have accumulated during the Stroh'S Nights of Fire. Oswald, Pulde, and Meyer were the top 3 qualifiers over the course of the entire season.
There's the king, Kenny Bernstein. He is set to go in our next round against Ron Carenti from Los Angeles, California. Kenny Bernstein, of course, in the Budweiser King Ford Tempo. He hails from Dallas, Texas. This has been a good year for him. We ask him about the best things that have happened to him in 1985.
Being the fastest funny car there is in the world at this stage, when we ran 5:55 at Bristol, Tennessee, and 5:56, those numbers were just fantastic. It took us into an area and a realm that no one had ever been before, and it's nice to be in that state at this stage.
Kenny Bernstein going against Ron Carenti. Now, the color scheme and the paint job on Carenti's car in the near lane isn't quite what you're used to.
Yeah, they say that they've had so many crashes and so many problems, there just hasn't been the time to go ahead and go to their true routine, traditional maroon paint scheme.
At stake, $50,000 to the winner, Bernstein, far lane, Carenti near lane. The green flashes on.
Oh, here comes Bernstein. Look at him run away with this one. It's going to be another win for Kenny.
And it's a good speed, 248.61 miles an hour. That's an elapsed time of 5.817. So John Lombardo and Kenny Bernstein have both moved into the next round, as Bernstein had an easy win here over Ron Carenti.
You can see Bernstein in the far lane winning this one. By the way, he was ranked only 7th in the season-long Stroh'S Night of Fire point standings, but that is not an indication of him not doing well this year. He just did not run that many meets, as many as some of the other competitors, and he was indeed fortunate to qualify for this exclusive field of 8.
Well, we'll continue our eliminations in the $50,000 funny car showdowns. Plus, we'll begin our eliminations in the Zekker Cup right after the division, the Zekker Cup, and Marty has a further report.
An interesting new concept involving the sportsman racers of this great sport of drag racing. It's called the Zekker Cup. $10,000 going to go to the winner. And Dave, tell me a little bit about how the Zekker Cup came about.
Well, the interesting thing about the Zekker Cup was we needed some way to support the sportsman racer, the guy who comes out here weekend after weekend after weekend but doesn't have the pro racing budget. So what we're talking about here are 7 different classes of cars with a mile-per-hour difference, say, for a stock car of 85 miles per hour and a top sportsman car of 175 miles per hour. So we had to have a handicap system whereby these guys could race together and at the same time hopefully come at the finish line at close to the same time. And these are the people we build cars for, so we wanted to return back to the sport while we were getting out of it.
Zeke, an interesting concept because it'll give the pure stock guy a chance to run against a top sportsman, which doesn't normally happen.
That's correct. Regardless of what his speeds are, he still has a chance. You know, racing budget has nothing to do with it either. You know, as long as he has a good reaction time, good drivability, he can still win.
So keep your eyes on it. It should be very interesting. The Zekker Cup, the first time ever run at IHRA.
And here we go. First round, Ashley Pridgeon of the hot rod class in the near lane against Deke Buckner of quick rod in the far lane.
Watch the handicap system take effect here as Deke Buckner gets to take off. Ashley Pridgeon is red lighted. Here he comes on strong, but Buckner, as you can see, slowing down because he's got this one in his hip pocket.
Deke Buckner from quick rod eliminates Ashley Pridgeon, who red lighted. Next up, in the near lane from Super Rod, David Simmons, and in the far lane from Super Stock, Mark Young.
Super Rod versus Super Stock. Once again, you can see how the handicap tree, the professional tree, tries to equalize the competition. Here they come to the line. Looks like it's going to be close.
Well, we have another red light. Mark Young has red lighted, so David Simmons is the winner of that contest. Next, in top sportsman near lane, Tommy Mooney, and in the far lane from Pure Stock, Billy Lawrence.
Tommy Mooney, of course, is a guy whom we have seen run pro stock. He's got some experience in drag racing.
Billy Lawrence coming on strong in the far lane, and Lawrence an easy winner over Tommy Mooney. Now in the near lane, in the modified class, Fred White against Danny Carr from Hot Rod.
Fred White from Kingsport, Tennessee. Danny Carr from Florence, Alabama. The hot rod division, of course, has a 10.90 breakout time. Danny Carr has to get in as close to that without going under 10.90.
Well, Danny Carr crosses a line first in the far lane. However, we have a double breakout here, and then Fred White is the least offensive of the two, and therefore he is the winner.
We see Danny Carr in his hot rod taking off in front of the modified Fred White. And what happens when you have a double breakout like this? The guy who is the least offender of the two breakout timers is the winner, in this case, Fred White.
So those four, Deke Buckner, David Simmons, Billy Lawrence, and Fred White, move on. Meanwhile, we go back to the $50,000 Funny Car Showdown here at Darlington. And set to go now, we have Jim Head from Columbus, Ohio against Dale Pulde.
Boy, on the strength of the performances in 1985, that man right there, the metallic yellow Miller High Life Warrior of Dale Pulde, would be the man to beat. He's won 5 times this year against the all-time leading independent of drag racing from Columbus, Jim Head.
Jim Head in only his second full year in the Pro Funny Car division against a 2-time IHRA world champion, Dale Pulde.
Head is in it. Head, and Pulde is squirming, and I think Head's going to win this one.
Pulde really squirrely coming down the strip, and Jim Head wins with a 2:52.10, a 5.804 ET.
What a big moment for this independent from Ohio. Jim Head has dethroned, at least temporarily, Dale Pulde. Now you see it once again, Pulde getting very sideways just after breaking out of the starting line. He gathers it back up, but it's too late. Head is gone. It just takes just a split second like that. You can see you come out at a tremendous disadvantage. You just can't make up.
Next will be Mark Oswald from Cincinnati, Ohio in the near lane. In the far lane is Rick Boy.
Rick Boy has to be the big underdog of this field. He was not really expected to be one of the top qualifiers, but a couple people haven't showed up. Boy got a shake. Boy is upside down.
Car is upside down into the guardrail on the inside of the track. Rick Boy upside down, the car becoming squirrely just as it left the line. A fire breaks out in the engine compartment.
Boy's car staying together fine, so we don't think there would be any serious damage if he can get up underneath that car before the fire gets any worse. Of course, the funny cars, they are designed with aerodynamics in mind, and it's very difficult to get out from one of these things, particularly when it's upside down. They're working feverishly to get Rick out. Hopefully he is conscious underneath there as they're trying to get some of the body work away. Time is passing by, and Boy is still not out of the car. And remember, there's that flash fire that I believe is still raging underneath the engine compartment.
Well, the fire crews are on the scene, and the safety personnel are now going to right the car, or at least attempt to, in an effort to get Rick Boy out.
Still not on that car.
See the fluid pouring from the radiator.
Oh,
now the fire breaks
worse.
out once again in the engine compartment.
Working to try and get Rick out of that car. Rick Boy, boy, some very anxious moments here.
There he is.
A helmet. He is out of the race car. Oh, I believe he's in okay shape.
A roar goes up from the crowd gathered here at Darlington. They see that Rick Boy apparently is okay. He's walking under his own power to the ambulance and will be taken, of course, to a local hospital for further examination, but things look good. We'll be back with more of the $50,000 Funny Car Showdown in a moment. What happened just a few moments ago. Rick Boy's car upside down and into the guardrail in his run against Mark Oswald. Marty is with Rick Boy.
What happened?
Well, just got a little loose out there and tried to drive it out and went crossways. And when it gets sideways, the tires kind of roll over. That right side did there, and that's about all you can do. They'll flip, and that's, you know, we just tried to drive it out there, and I just got a little bit too far around. That's all I could do. So we're gonna try to, you know, try to get everything back together for next year, and I feel like we'd probably come back.
Is this the worst crash you've ever had?
Not in a funny car, yeah, but I've wrecked another car about 5-6 years ago, so it's, you know, I got hurt worse than that. I did this one. I wasn't going nowhere near as fast.
You're okay now?
Oh, yeah, sure, fine.
Glad to know it. Good luck next year.
Well, okay.
So Rick Boy okay after that terrifying crash. Down to the semifinals in the Zekker Cup. David Simmons in the near lane of Super Rod and Deke Buckner in the far lane.
Breakout time is 9.90 in that near lane, 8.90 in the far lane. Both of those guys will try to not only beat the other man, but come as close as they can to those breakout times. Let's see how they do.
Well, Deke Buckner, I believe, was across the line first, but we have a breakout, and David Simmons is the winner. Now, Fred White in the near lane in the modified division against Billy Lawrence.
Fred White will have the speed advantage in this one. Billy Lawrence in the far lane. It's a pure stock car. This race will give you an example of what the Zekker Cup is all about. No matter what your budget is, no matter how many miles per hour potentially are in your machine, you can run up against anybody. You see the pure stocker gets that big head start. Now watch the modified come on. Can he catch him?
It'll make no difference because Billy Lawrence has red lighted. Fred White moves into the finals. Back on the line, Jim Head is set to go in the Funny Car Showdown against John Lombardo. We asked Jim Head what it would mean to him to win $50,000.
It means quite a great deal to me. It means running for the highest paid purse in drag racing history. It means that drag racing is taking a step up where it ought to be among some of the other type of auto racing events in the way of purses. Just in general, we're real proud to be here and be able to race for $50,000.
Should be a great one, Larry. Jim Head in the near lane against John Lombardo.
Head turned a 5.8 in beating Dale Pulde last time around. Lombardo beat Billy Meyer. Lombardo went 5.7, so based on their performance in the previous round, it looks like it might be Lombardo. Let's see how it goes.
And Lombardo does win with a 2:55.68, a 5.688. John Lombardo, one of those in the finals. It'll be going for $50,000. Here's a replay.
You can see the tree counting down, both drivers off the line at the same time. They both leave the staging area. It's side by side. Head is moving around just a little bit down the strip. Some smoke coming. Couldn't tell if it was quick dry or not from the previous buoy accident. I think it was. That may or may not have had an effect, but at any rate, the winner is John Lombardo.
And his opponent will be either Kenny Bernstein or Mark Oswald as they get set to go here in the semifinals. It'll be Kenny Bernstein in the near lane and Oswald in the far lane.
Kenny Bernstein, the 1979 world champion. He's turned in some very impressive ETs in the last 3 or 4 weeks, and it seems like he goes a little quicker each time out. He's a constant threat, it seems, for the 5.5 barrier, the 5.6 barrier. The miles per hour haven't been all that impressive, but off the line, his reaction time has been so great, and that car's been sticking so well with those exotic aerodynamics, and he's just been super tough when it comes to elapsed time.
Mark Oswald and the Candies and Hughes machine and the Budweiser King, piloted by Kenny Bernstein, who used to make his home in Dallas, Texas, now living in California. The green goes on. Semifinals. Bernstein out in front. Here they come. It's going to be Kenny Bernstein in the finals.
Oswald had some problems. There was some smoke about 3/4 away down the line. You saw the car jumping a little bit, the front end bouncing off of the ground, and you just don't give Bernstein any type of advantage at all. He wins enough on his own.
Let's take a look at the run again. Now, one thing we've got to notice, Bernstein in that run turned in a 5.680. He'll be going against John Lombardo, who turned in a 5.688 in his win over Jim Head. Should be a great finals.
Now watch closely the car on the right. Oswald's car begins to bounce a little bit, and that probably was the difference, although, like I said, Bernstein's been winning on his own anyway.
Way to go, you guys.
So it'll be Bernstein against Lombardo in the $50,000 funny car showdown. We have the finals in Zekker Cup coming up.
Way to go, though. Way to go, you guys.
Jewels for You recaptures the excitement of
Against Fred White in the far lane. This is Super Rod against Modified.
120 miles per hour, a 9.90 breakout against 140 miles per hour, a 9.2 handicap dialed in breakout. The biggest single moment in the history of sportsman racing on the track, on the screen right now.
$10,000 to the winner. Here comes Fred White in the far lane, and Fred White wins the Zekker Cup.
Fred White had to not only defeat his opponent, but stay within that breakout time, and he has just barely managed to do it at 139 miles per hour, $10,000 richer.
Now $50,000 at stake as John Lombardo goes against Kenny Bernstein in the showdown.
What a disadvantage Lombardo was at against this man, Kenny Bernstein, a man who was literally won it all in 1985 in drag racing, not only in IHRA, but he's also been very successful in NHRA, the only man to be in more than 2 finals in NHRA. When he's come to IHRA, he has been successful there also.
John Lombardo's car owner is Raymond Beadle, and we understand that Raymond has just arrived here at the drag strip to watch his driver go for the 50 grand.
Kenny Bernstein has only been in 1 finals in a regular IHRA meet in 1985, and he won it. He comes into this race looking across the way to John Lombardo and saying, John, you have got to take it from me. Right now, this is Bernstein's race. He has been the man to beat all year long. Lombardo has got to beat him.
The escape hatch is closed on Bernstein's car. Now he begins to stage it, and so does John Lombardo.
Remember, Bernstein has been turning in those 5.6s and 5.5s in the last couple of weeks. Every time he comes up to the line, you almost expect history. Lombardo is broke.
Bernstein will collect $50,000 in a no contest.
Oh.
Bernstein's car smoking badly at the line, but Kenny Bernstein goes after John Lombardo broke.
Kenny Bernstein, boy, I'll tell you, if it's not the horsepower and the mechanics involved that win races for him. It's just other factors that all collapse into one, and it's another Bernstein win.
A terrible bit of luck for John Lombardo, who was set to go, but the car would just not perform. Well, let's go down to the end of the drag strip. Marty Reed, who is with the winner of 50 grand, Kenny Bernstein.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Boy, that's a nice one to win. And let me say something real quick. My hat's off, and our team entirely, to Stroh'S for putting on this event for drag racing, the richest there is. Having the guts to put the money up, even if they knew another beer company's car had the possibility of winning, and our hat's off to them. But back to Armstrong and the crew, they did a heck of a job.
What happened out the starting line? Did you see what happened to John Lombardo?
Well, I wasn't looking. I wasn't waiting around. No, I didn't have any idea. Our car left good. It ran good through the middle. It nipped her down at this end, but the air cooled off. That's fine.
So Kenny Bernstein picks up $50,000 for his victory in the showdown, and Fred White wins $10,000 in the Zekker Cup. Our $50,000 Stroh'S showdown has been brought to you by Stroh'S and Stroh Light, fire brewed for smoother taste. And by Drag Review, all you need to know about drag racing. For Marty Reed and Larry Newber, this is Bob Jenkins. Thanks for joining us. So long, everyone.